It was such a short time in history. I mean, I don't think I was any less narcissistic than anybody, thinking we're the generation. This is so big and so important. It was big and important, but it was also little, and it was very short. That cohort of us that feels a certain way about the world and sort of had that experience.
We were the first generation, I think, that really had choice. You could take any group of Barnard women that were friends and see how world events and our choices intersected.
I feel like I went into the world when I went to Barnard, and I never went back to a hidden place again. And that I understood that, curiosity and kind of fascination with what was around us was really okay.
There was a feminist that lived inside of me, a quiet one. I wasn't running around burning bras. I wasn't being overt about it. But whether it's the right to have an abortion, whether it's free sex, whether it's equal opportunity at work, whatever it was, I was certainly for it.
I think it was the attitude that women could do whatever they wanted to do, and that women were as capable as men.
This idea of having your own money and being able to be independent, to be able to take care of yourself, was very important to my mother. And, it was in the air I breathed. I never wanted to be a boy. Never, ever. But it's just that what men did was better.
I said to myself, well, here I am, I'm young, but I'd like to have children. What is the career that would allow me time to do that?
I wanted to get married. I saw myself getting married, but, first get situated in the career and, I didn't realize it would take me as long as it did.
It just never occurred to me that women shouldn't do whatever they would want to do.
If you're really, really good at what you do, they're not going to waste your talents. They're not going to waste your talents. It's too important.
When I got out in the real world, still in that era, if you were an estrogen American, you still had to take a typing test.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was kind of another rude awakening.
It sounds amazing, but I was asked on a medical school interview, why should we accept you over an equally qualified man? As my husband, who's a lawyer, says, that would be worth a lot of money today, that question.
My boss actually told me that, yes, of course, I pay the men more than I pay you because they've got to support themselves, whereas you have a husband. And I didn't fight that. It's just because I knew that, now this is 1973. I knew that it wasn't going to get me anywhere, and I knew I wasn't going to stay.
I encountered subtle things like finding out that I wasn't getting my health insurance paid for, and another person in my department who was getting married was, and he was going to have a wife, and since I wasn't married, things like that would never happen today.
I remember the first day of school, somebody said, and this is the first class that has 20% women. And I remember realizing, oh, but there's still it's still 4-1. We're still very few of us coming through, and a few women role models, but very few.
Not only did I not get a job at the Brigham to stay on after my fellowship, but I couldn't get a job anywhere. And I think that there was some politics involved where I just couldn't find a place to work. And so my father helped me to set up my own private practice.
You know, because I was ambitious, I was going to make a go of this wonderful job. I thought it is a dream job. It was a beautiful firm, beautiful interiors. But, you know, it's a male play. Anything in that type of field is mostly male dominated. And I was not socially connected. So if you're not socially connected, you don't bring in the big time clients. Like rainmaking is a big part of a law firm's work.
At the time, it turns out human resources was very important. And I really, really liked it, really liked it. I got to interact with all levels of people, working people, management people, and so forth. I said, I think this is where I'd like to stay. So that's where I stayed. I had a hard time because I could see all the fair-haired young men just rise up to the top, And I noticed that women didn't rise up to the top as much. It was a boys' town, so to speak.
The Supreme Court Justice President is a woman, but for a long, long time it was a man, and all the important positions to the judges were always given to men, even though they weren't as well prepared. In the last assignment I had, my supervisor, the administrator of the Judicial Center, was a male, and he discriminated, but I didn't care anymore, and I would talk him straight, and I would tell him straight how it was, or if he, in a meeting, said something that I wasn't in agreement, I would talk back.
He would bring her in and I would nurse her and I would, what the heck, I'm gonna work, I'm gonna run codes. I was a senior resident. She came to codes with me at my breast, like this is just the way it's gonna be. When my son was born, they still didn't have a maternity leave policy for doctors, but luckily a nurse was pregnant at the same time, so they gave me the same leave that she had. And then when Eva was born, I said, if you don't give me 3 months, I'm gonna quit, because at that point I had 3 under 5. So they gave me 3 months, but I still had to be on call.
When I moved to MIT, they had maternity leave for untenured women, and we were able to fight for parental leave and elder care leave and leave for adoption. I used to call it, to the horror of the MIT engineers there, I called it vaginal birth canal leave. You can almost see them cringing every time I said vagina. I said, it doesn't matter this particular moment that doesn't last that long. What matters is having a child in any shape or form. We want parental leave.
I think I'm a woman who has come into my own, actually, as I've gotten older. Family was always a high priority. My own children, once they were born, I was completely dedicated to them. And in that sense, I think I was, a very traditional woman as a mother and a care provider. That was a responsibility that a priority I thought was really high. I was always working, but not really going up a career level in the way I should have or could have. Again, part of that I look in retrospect, or I knew at the time, and it made me angry or made me frustrated, was that I really had deferred to Tom, to my husband, in his career, and he had really persuaded us all that the only way he could do his career as a litigator in a very prestigious law firm was to, be 24/7.
I remember saying to somebody when my kids were little that I had, and I stayed home, people said, oh, you're not working? I had 4 children in 5 years. I think I'm working.
I think you're working.
Okay, and my choice not to get a job where I would barely make enough money to pay somebody else to look after them, I said, I think that I will be vindicated by history for making this choice to be with them. And as it turned out, I'm very glad that I did. That I had as much time with them as I did have.
I must have known on some level that I wasn't the kind of person to settle down with a man. When I was 27, after having one pretty serious boyfriend and one very serious boyfriend, I came out. And I've been married to a woman. Well, we married a few years ago, but I've been with her for 35 years.
My son is Vietnamese. He was a couple of years old, and I was starting to think about wanting to work. I decided to start an adoption agency, placing foreign-born and special needs children. That was pretty amazing to be able to do that. But it was a lot of responsibility. And I probably, when I was home with my kids, my head was in the adoption agency. I mean, that's one of the things that I wish that I could have done differently, to be able to know how to let go when I was at home and really be home.
Well, I didn't always get it right. I'll say that. I will also say I couldn't have done it without a lady by the name of Esther Anderson. I guess nowadays you'd say she was our nanny. She would call herself, I'm the babysitter. So, okay, well then that's what you'll be for me. Although she became like grandma.
I've been very privileged to have an incredibly good marriage. Next week is 44 years. My biggest regret, no, we never had kids. I was, busy running around the world and doing my other work, so it didn't fit in. And then when I wanted to, I couldn't. I think because I didn't have children. I was very professionally driven.
We were really different, and the word that I became aware of was accountability. Your life is accountable to something bigger than yourself.
My life has been about making a difference. I have seen now over the last 30 plus years that we're working in corporations that everyone really wants to make a difference. Most people wait till they're retired so they can actually make a difference. And we like to tap into that piece now and create a difference the corporation can make. And that sense of purpose also contributes to a bigger thing. And people like to do things more than just creating shareholder value.
I had a very good career in Hawaii. One of the things I'm proud of is that I discovered in living in Kailua, I'm a hiker. I love walking around. I love